After giving Donald Trump hours and hours of free advertising during the 2016 election, it appears that the mainstream media and cable news outlets are finally waking up to the fact that Donald Trump is what he really is, a giant loser. And so all of this reaction follows news that he had lost over $1 billion in a little under a decade in the 1980s and 90s. Take a look.
And shows that, well, I've got to say.
We could just do the short version.
Biggest loser, yes.
I mean, no one has lost as much money.
The man who ran for president on his reputation as a billionaire business genius was a really, really, really lousy businessman.
He lost more than double the next biggest loser in this country.
In 1991, Donald Trump lost more than $250 million each year. $250 million a year.
Are you saying
He's
that
the biggest
of
loser.
all the people who filed taxes in the United States of America over this decade, that Donald Trump lost more money than every other American? I mean, that's like back then, that's like 250 million people.
Than anyone.
Well, he is special.
He's literally the biggest loser.
He was actually the biggest loser, to use a term he would use.
And it is stunning, except for maybe the people who knew him.
And you know what? It wasn't that stunning for people here at TYT who knew he was a loser while he was running, continued calling him a loser throughout his tenure as president. In fact, we had an entire segment, Cenk had an entire segment titled Loser Donald, if you can recall. Let's take a look at that.
I've been doing these Loser Donald segments. I know how insecure he is. So, but I don't get credit for it because I don't get to do a told you segment.
People are wondering, why am I doing this on the weekends and doing it live? Because we want to do 100 of these before the election, and we started 100 days before the election, so we're gonna do one every single day.
He's got such thin skin. He's got such little confidence in himself. So that's why he struts around and does the whole thing like, oh, I'm very, very strong. I'm phenomenal. I have many, many wins. I'm a winner, not a loser. No, really, I'm not a loser. How did Donald Trump ever run a business? Well, we know how he did it. He bankrupted everything he ever touched. So here we go again with Loser Donald. Now this is a scam that he's running in the middle of the campaign. Now, there's two particularly egregious parts of this. One is he's ripping people off. And the other is, again, what kind of two-bit scam artist needs to rip people off on his presidential campaign and possibly get in trouble? Now, what billionaire would bother to do this? Guy doesn't have that much money, he just doesn't.
So Cenk, you finally get to do your told you so segment.
So look, part of the reason we did the Loser Donald segments is because it was driving me crazy in the lead up to the election. That the media was not focusing on the #1 issue with Donald Trump, which is not that he was, a terrible guy. I get it. It's a huge issue and became enormously important when he's president, when he said there was very fine people on the Nazi side of Charlottesville, etc. But people needed to know how grossly incompetent he is, that he has never effectively managed anything in his life. And handing over the presidency to a guy who has no idea how to manage anything is a terrible idea. And look at what happened. He refuses to read national security briefings past the page. He doesn't read them on most days, and they have to put pictures in it and his name to get him to pay attention. That's why he went into negotiations with North Korea and said, I don't have to know anything about North Korea. I'm going to be able to tell whether we're going to have a deal within 1 second.
No, he said, it's my touch, it's my feel.
Yeah, okay, no, that's what a clown says. And how did your touch and your feel turn out in your businesses? Disastrously. And so a lot of this was already public record. And it was, secondly, it was my frustration with the Hillary Clinton campaign. They kept going back to the well. But for a lot of his voters, the bigotry, the racism, the anti-establishment populist fervor was not the bug, it was the feature, and you kept doubling down on it. Why? They were looking at it from their perspective. Well, boy, everyone I know is not gonna like this, so I'm just gonna keep on saying it. No, you had to undercut his supposed strength. And his strength was, I'm rich and I'm really good at managing. And we knew the reality because we'd already seen the 6 bankruptcies. That's why, and I did it on purpose. It was to make sure that it was not clever. Like loser Donald is not a clever turn of phrase. It's exactly the kind of thing that Trump did. A crooked Hillary, right? There's no pun, there's nothing clever,
Yep.
et cetera. So we gave him a taste of his own medicine and went after his number one problem. It's that he's an unbelievable loser. So now, 3 years later, 4 years later, the rest of the media is caught up. Okay, great. But when we do those things, understand there's a reason why we do them. And the main reason is because it's true.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.